Hello? Thank you. Would everyone please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson? Here. Councilwoman Marcotte?
Here.
Councilman Dooley?
Here.
Councilman Marcocia?
Here.
Supervisor Calavita?
Here. Good evening, everyone. We're going to go to opportunity to address the board on agenda items. Anyone on a specific agenda item? All right, moving forward, we have appointments, and we have the recommended appointment of Michael Fortuno of Eastchester to the Planning Board effective September 19th, 2023 to December 31st, 2023. I'll make that motion. Ask for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocia?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
I just want to take a moment to thank Lou Campana, who was on the planning board, and Lou's an architect. He did an excellent job, and I guess his practice is getting very busy, so he wasn't able to devote the time he needed to the planning board. But also I want to thank Mark Cunningham. Mark was on the board for, I think, approximately 15 years, which is a long time to be on the planning board, and he did an excellent job. And giving up, a decade and a half of your life of service to the town is quite remarkable. So thank you, Mark, for all of your efforts. I appreciate that. And Lou and Mark, you'll be missed. But we have some good members coming on board, which is great news. Anyway, but we want to just take a moment to thank them. Okay, next we have approval of the minutes of the September 5th, 2023 meeting. Any amendments or modifications?
None.
There being none, someone can make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Please, thank you,
Second.
Joe. Yeah. Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocia?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye. Okay, next we have the reports of departments, boards, and commissions, and we can receive and file the August 2023 record of monthly report. I would also note that out of the parking summonses that were received this year in 2023, there was approximately 350 of the 1,588 were given out on Garth Road. So we definitely stepped up enforcement there, which is a bigger number than we had at the same time last year. Next, we have the Law Department report. Mr. Rader.
Yes, good evening. First, I have a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute and deliver an amendment to a lease agreement made between the town of Eastchester and the Eastchester Fire Department for the use of the Marble Schoolhouse from October 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023.
Yes, someone care to make a motion?
So moved.
So moved. I would just correct the minutes to the library.
I'm
The
sorry?
library, not the schoolhouse.
Okay, the library, okay, at the Eastchester grounds there, historical grounds. So I'll make the second, but also add that we are advised that the fire department should have this project completed by the end of the month of October, possibly into November. So, when in doubt, let's go till the end of the year. They've been a model tenant, for lack of a better expression, but I know the Historical Society wants its property back. But we want to make sure they have a home there to make sure that everyone's safe in the south end of town. Anyway, with that being said, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocia?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye.
Okay, next, I have a resolution authorizing the approval for an application for a special event permit submitted by the Huntley Civic Association for their community's 2023 Fall Picnic in the Park at Joyce Road Park, which will be held on October 15th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocia?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye. Next, we have the Highway Department report. We can receive and file the written report for August of 2023. Mr. Latello, how are you, sir?
Good evening, Supervisor Calavita, members
you're-
of the town board.
You're a busy man, I know that.
Yes, we are. I'd like to report, crews were assigned to weed and water our various flower planting locations, and will in the next few weeks prepare these areas for our fall flowers. Due to the tremendous spike in growth of our street trees, a crew was assigned daily to perform pruning maintenance of town-owned trees, which includes trimming and shaping of trees and clearing along the roadways. Our street resurfacing program is still ongoing. To date, we've paved over a dozen roadways. The paving season, we paved many primary roadways, including California Road, Nourishow Road, Garth Road, and Manchester Road. We thank our residents for all the patience during those days of detours and road closures. A crew has continued installation of our Hometown Heroes banners located on the northbound and southbound lanes of White Plains Road. The department is very proud to be part of this program in honoring our veterans. The department continues to monitor and evaluate any improvements needed for water-related issues. If you notice, some of our sanitation vehicles, we refurbished and painted them to improve the longevity of the fleet. Some of the improvements that we did in-house included installation of new LED lighting for better visibility. A reminder to residents, all items put out for collection shall be placed curbside no earlier than dusk on the preceding day of collection. Please refer to your sanitation and recycling schedule for pickup days. For any questions, please reach out to the Highway Department office. I have nothing further to report.
Yeah, just for purposes of explanation, I know a lot of people called my office about Tuckahoe Ave, and there was an issue there because the construction company hired a company to come in and monitor or to mark where the Con Ed lines were, the gas lines. This is the water company. And unfortunately, they mismarked everything. And they were off by 30, 40 feet on some occasions. So when they did their excavation, the gas lines ruptured. But it's been since remedied, and they're working hard to give everybody brand-new water service right up the street. So hopefully they'll be done at the end of November and no later than that, hopefully sooner than that. But that's what's happened in that location. Also, everyone has been commenting about all the Con Ed work, particularly on California Road. But they're installing their high-pressure natural gas line, and they're also replacing a lot of mains around the town. So we happen to be getting a lot of attention from Con Ed all at once. So we just ask everyone to be patient, let them do their job. Let's try to keep out of the way. You know, the faster they do their work, the faster they move on from here. But thank you, Mr. Teller, for your patience. I know you've been fielding the same calls and emails I have, so
Thank you.
appreciate it. Okay, that brings us to correspondence of a memorandum from the controller on some budget transfers and revisions. Anyone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Marcoccia?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye. Next, I have a memo from the controller regarding part-time seasonal employees, and these are mostly police-related in that we're having some parking enforcement officers and some crossing guards. And crossing guards, you know, are tough to come by these days because it's a lot of work for unusual hours of the day, but we got some good ones coming in. So I'll make the motion to approve same and ask for a second.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Dooley?
Aye.
Councilman Marcoccia?
Aye.
Supervisor Calavita?
Aye. Next, we have miscellaneous business. There being none, we move to council member reports. Councilman Marcoccia.
Thank you, Supervisor. Just a quick update here on Lake Isle. Sport Time Tennis will be putting up the tennis bubbles very soon. Join now to enjoy tennis this fall, winter, and spring in a climate-controlled environment. Please call Sport Time today for more information at 914-777-5151, or you can visit them at www.sporttimeny.com. Golf continues, and it is one of the best times of the year to play. For those who are not members and would like to play some fall season golf, please visit our website at www.lakeislecountryclub.com for more information and to book a tee time. And finally, there'll be a Lake Isle Advisory Board meeting tomorrow night, 8 p.m. at the Community Center at Lake Isle. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilman Dooley.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Last Monday, on September 11th, the Italian-American Citizens Club and the Irish-American Social Club held their annual scholarship golf outing. There was a 9/11 theme to it. They had over 180 golfers sign up, over 300 attendees at the dinner. They raised funds for both scholarship funds, and they were also able to donate $25,000 to Tunnel to Tower. So congratulations to both organizations. I know a lot of work goes into that outing. Just a great job by everybody. Lake Isle was tremendous, both the golf course and Molino's. The weather was so-so, but we were able to get in most of the golf, and you know, everybody had a great time. And just one final note on that, since they weren't able to determine a winner because of the weather and probably other factors,
It's a draw.
They couldn't figure it out. So they, it was a draw. So with that said, the cup stays with the Irish, and I guess it stays at Jack's, right? Yes, so that concludes my report.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. Next week, we do have the 9/11 Never Forget Museum coming to our town at Lake Isle on September 26th and 27th. And this year, it's open to the public from 9 to 4, and the tours will be given by the firemen of FDNY. And this is a program event that's sponsored by the Eastchester Rotary Club and the Foley Foundation. So mark your calendar. And at the library news, well, they have some children's book signing tomorrow at 4:30 with Stanley and the Wild Works by Mona Volek and Sophie Special. And Reclaiming Your Inner Child is Saturday, September 23rd at 1 p.m. It's an empowering workshop led by Maria Alex. Participants will explore the effect of childhood adversity on their adult lives. And also, there's many other programs going on. We do have also the Eastchester 10th Annual 5K is Sunday. Just a reminder, September 24th. They do have the registration on Saturday, the 23rd. And there also will be a free flu shot clinic Tuesday, October 17th at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And this is New York Presbyterian is sponsoring that one. And there's much, much more. And you could go to eastchesterlibrary.org to get more information of the ongoing programs there at the library. So that is all I have this evening.
Thank you. Councilwoman Marcotte?
Thank you, Supervisor Calavita. So in advance of Election Day, all registered voters hopefully got something like this in the mail. If you are a registered voter, you should have received it. The Board of Elections is hiring and seeking inspectors to work early voting and the upcoming election. So the information is on that card. It's a very simple process. There is an online course that you can take, and once the course has been completed, the results go to the Board of Elections, and those results sort of get dumped into one system where they get turned over to the inspector department once a week and then distributed out to the inspectors, who will reach out to you and give you a call and hopefully schedule you to become an inspector. So again, if you received one of those and if you want to be an inspector, it is a long day, but the pay is $350. Additionally, I just wanted to make a couple of announcements. On October 1st, the Village of Bronxville invites you to join them as they celebrate 125 years of being a village. They will be doing a celebration on Village Hall lawn, Palumbo Place, and the library lawn, and that will take place between 12 and 4, so we hope to see everybody there. And lastly, Con Edison is doing an overhaul, if you will, of their system, their website and their account numbers. So there's the 6-digit account number that you have is now going to become an 11-digit account number. And from October 5th to October 9th, there's going to be multiple services that will not be available to you. Things such as My Account, the virtual assistant, reporting outages. None of that will be available. You're going to have to make a phone call if you want to interact with Con Ed. If you have auto pay and you're set up that way, you have to do nothing. But if you need to stop services or move services or suspend services, it's all new phone numbers for the course of those 4 days. So I'm thinking maybe we can post it on the website so we can get the information out to the residents. And lastly, I just wanted to thank all the many residents who attended the yard sale that was in the O'Rourke lot this past weekend. We had some great vendors, we had lots of residents, and it was all to support the Eastchester Historical Society. And the week prior to that, we had our dinner, and that was a full house as well. So we appreciate your support. And that concludes my report, Supervisor.
Thank you. For my own report, just want to let everybody know that the town receiver of taxes collects the taxes required by the Eastchester School District and the Tuckahoe School District. And their offices will be open on Monday, October 2nd, from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. So if you can't get to the post office and get it postmarked prior to that date, you can come to Town Hall up until 7 o'clock. If you want to come in before work at 8 o'clock, you can do that too. So please give us a call at 771-3346 if, for whatever reason, you have any questions or need a little bit of assistance there. Secondly, we have a Do Not Knock registry in the town of Eastchester. I would urge anyone to sign up if you don't want to be pestered by people making solicitations. The constitutional law has changed pretty significantly with regard to what we can and cannot regulate, but I would go onto the town's website, go into the clerk's section, and register for Do Not Knock, because anyone who wants to come in and solicit has to go by that list. So in addition to putting no solicitations on your front door or your property line, you may want to also do a Do Not Knock registration. Also on or at 10 o'clock on Sunday is Gold Star Mother's Day. We have a ceremony at the Memorial Park in Eastchester on White Plains Road at 10 o'clock. We will recognize Eastchester's Gold Star mothers and also people that are in the immediate vicinity of Eastchester, those Gold Star mothers as well. And if you're not familiar with Gold Star mothers, when people had a person in the service, they would put a blue star in their window to let everyone know that they had someone in their household, fighting for this country. And then, unfortunately, if that person was killed, then the star would turn from blue, they would put a gold star in, hence the name of Gold Star Mothers. But it's always a very moving ceremony. Our veterans will be running the show, as they do each and every year. And again, 10 o'clock on Memorial Park in Eastchester this Sunday. And that concludes my report for tonight. So now we have the second opportunity to address the board. Would anyone care to address the board? Just give us your name and address, please.
Bob Foyce, 105 Garth Road. Interesting. Yes, it's very polite to find out who doesn't want to have their door knocked on, and over the years, there's been enough of us who've gone around knocking on doors. So that should be interesting. But what I lament a little bit about that is, especially with how you have do not call lists, do not knock lists, less words getting out about things, less information. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be something like a do not lock list. I do not knock list. I think that's a great idea. But the thought I have is that we're losing ways of reaching people, getting information out to them. The reason I bring this up is that very recently we found out WVOX is closing down, and WVOX, as you know, had been a constant source of information for the community. And many of us have been on the air for that, either as hosts or as guests, so we know about this. That's gone, and it's a shame. And it's a shame that we've lost many of the newspapers, many of the coverage. And the reason I'm bringing that up just as a thought is, and just a thought, that maybe we can, as a town, come up with a committee or a group of people to have a little more public access information on the cable, since we're running out of ways of getting information out to people as far as discussion, and that works every possible way good for everybody. And it's just a thought, just so we can tap into that, since we're losing so many ways of reaching out to people. For all we know, Facebook and Meta may be gone in 2 years, and then there's not that, And so we're running out of ways to get information out about things, and that, I always used to call this the curse of the unreported story when I was a journalist. That's a long time ago. But it's happening more and more, and we don't benefit from it from a civic standpoint. Just a thought that maybe the town can come up with a committee or a group of people to come up with ideas for some few. We used to have Phil White. He had his show on cable, and so this has been done before. And sure, I think it could be done again, maybe by one of you in Town Hall. And I think it would be a great idea and very upbeat for the town to let people know what's going on. All right. In the course of, I've got this, the street parking. There's been a lot of back and forth on Garth Road about the street parking. Would it be helpful for there to be a discussion or a meeting for the town, either with the traffic committee or the council, to talk about the history of how the 8 to 9 has changed over the years. It's been an unofficial thing. One of the explanation I was given, and maybe you can clarify, is this more due to the state covenant with the parking district than with the regular town law that we can't have the 8 to 9 on Garth Road?
This is before my time, so I'm not really sure of its origination.
All right. Would it be worth finding out? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but the only problem is we have a law on the books that says 8 o'clock till, 7 p.m. is where we enforce. And, I don't see us changing that. But, this courtesy, for lack of a better expression, was vitiated when residents on Garth Road were complaining about people parking and not getting tickets from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock and before then. So, what happened was it got to be a problem, and then that was it. It was just basically returned to what it should have been all along, is 8 o'clock to 7 p.m.
40 years of this. I'm not going to get into the back and forth. There's no constructive purpose in responding to what you just said. But 40 years of it being 8 to 9 where we could have parked, it's worth maybe revisiting the history and finding out what the options are. That's all. Okay, that's what I'm suggesting. Another point, which I don't want to talk on, is the sidewalk dining. I took a look at the sidewalks, and the wonderful thing about Garth Road is it does have some very wide spots in the sidewalks. Unfortunately, not all of it is in front of the restaurant areas. Would it be worth the council revisiting this, finding out to develop some designated areas that have tables anyway, just as a good thing for people to sit down and relax? They do this in Scarsdale Village to have there's some sections on the sidewalks. If you walk the sidewalk, you take a look at it, there's some very wide sections of sidewalks that are not necessarily right in front of the restaurants, but they are close by, that do not interfere with the egress at all. And just one suggestion I have is that we take a look at that area as a designated area where we can have tables near where the restaurants are, rather than it being bunched up in the areas where it is crowded, which you could see. Where the few spots where there were trees planted, it would be tough to get a wheelchair by, and it's not as wide, so you can see that. However, there's a lot of extra space there that could be utilized, and it's just a thought to take a look at it, that's all. Well, I'm not a fan of all the pruning and trimming and shaping of the trees, but I'm not going to get into that either. The highway department does a great job with that. But what I have learned recently, which I didn't know, is that it appears that a number of the trees on Garth Road, one explanation that was given, it's because where apparently they have their pets go to the bathroom, that these trees have some semblance of being unfortunately diseased in spots, and there's obvious problems with them. I don't know if there's anything we can do, bring an arborist in to take a look at it. And this is another thing you don't need to spend money on. I understand that, but.
Well, unfortunately, the remedy generally is just to take the tree down and plant another one. And then after 8, 9 years, you have the same coverage. It's a shame. I always maintain that, the trees are very important to the town, particularly in places where you have a lot of buildings and stuff. But, people are curbing their pets. They're generally pretty good about picking up after their pets, but urine you don't pick up. And if it's seeping into tree beds and all, I don't know what we can do about that.
Right.
Other than, fell the tree, which would be terrible. I hate to do that. All right. Unless you put up some, barricade so that,
Which is what they do in the city.
the dogs can't get
Yeah.
close enough to the tree bed, but then it rains, Anyway, please conclude your remarks. Thank you.
Okay, one last thing. In the course of my own work, I had a chance to talk to the company that's handling the property where Lord & Taylor's is. I work in job development, work development, and we were just curious in my office what type of businesses are coming in. And I have to tell you, it was a very upbeat, everything you had described to me in the spring about what was going to happen there, it was a very upbeat description of some of the ideas they have. They couldn't be very specific, and I'm sure that's a matter of those things take time, as you had explained to me too. But it does sound like there's some very exciting things that are going in there. Though I was concerned about one thing, is that the impression I got just speaking to them was, and they were very upbeat, by the way. And listen, I was speaking to the leasing agent in the company that deals with Saks. I wasn't speaking to the owner. The owner's going to do what the owner's going to do with the property, and they're right. But one thing that did struck me in the conversation was that there seemed to be an impression that there's a holdup, perhaps as long as a year, because they described it because of the town. And they talked about mechanicals for the different companies and all that. Is there something else going on here that has to be addressed that's not happening, or is there?
Not that I know of. I mean, architects always blame a town government or a village government or a city government for not moving fast enough. But they're very prompt with their stuff, and we get back to them immediately. They're a big property, want to make sure that they're moving along as best they can. And I think it's going to be a great facility when it's concluded. And fortunately for Eastchester, the one gentleman that's the key person for the owner is an Immaculate Heart of Mary grad, and is also a guy that grew up in Scarsdale, right over the border.
Right.
So he knows Eastchester, knows us, loves us, and it's great to work with Jerry. So if there was a problem, I'm sure he would reach out. But I haven't had any buzz from anybody over there that, hey, we need a little bit of help getting across the finish line, or could you move it along? I haven't heard anything like that.
Well, they seem very upbeat. And from a business end, in terms of somebody trying to find match job seekers with a business, which is what I do, there are ideas about trying to make it not necessarily a large anchor business, but bring the more common sense, smaller retail businesses in. Really sounded very exciting. However, as I've mentioned to you, and I've brought this up to you in person, and I've brought this up other ways, I think it would be constructive to have some sort of citizens committee working with the town on what's going to happen with the entire piece of property long term. That's just an idea. And I also learned something else along the way that I need a clarification on. Do we have a full-time planning person now?
Yes.
And the person is on-site working out of the office here?
Yeah, they're employed in Town Hall, yes.
Okay, all right. Because I had gotten the impression from some individuals working with the town that the individual's not always on site.
Now, we actually have added another part-time building inspector and a code enforcement officer, so we're in good shape there.
No, I'm talking about the person who replaced
Yeah,
Margaret.
he's brand new to the town, and when he's not in Town Hall, he's obviously on sites, but he's here every day.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good evening. Just give us your name and address, please. Thank you.
Good morning, good evening, excuse me, to the board and everyone else. I wonder if you're aware of what's happening. I've been monitoring the last 3 years with the motorized bikes, and young people are riding them without helmets and on the sidewalks. And I brought it to the police. I had a very close call more than once. And I know that there's a law. I believe you have to be 16. You have to have a license or a helmet. And I don't see it happening. There's no movement on these kids that are just racing down the sidewalks all over. So that, I had a couple of close calls. Another thing is the crosswalk near the pizza place is very dangerous.
Mill Road you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I take care of my daughter's English Bulldog. I'm well known in the town because he's in a baby carriage. And I see everything. I'm out 7 days a week, and nights and weekends. And I don't know how nothing seriously happened. They discard, if they stop on one side, and they don't stop on the other side. And it's very dangerous. I think it has to be like God's Road, lit up or whatever. over there. And I think they should enforce, I believe it's like $150 and points or something, and you have to stop so many feet, not on the line or whatever, but forget about parking. You can make a lot of money because I count people disregarding, trying to cross, seniors, anybody, and it's very dangerous.
Yeah, we might have to dress up that location. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, that's a county-owned road, so we generally have to get permission from the county to do anything there. But there's only like one of those, pedestrians have the right-of-way signs.
Yep.
Maybe we should get a second one, maybe widen up that box a little bit, or put an extra width on the stripes, so people stop before that. But you're right, it's a tough spot over there. And, as far as the scooters, we passed a law that said, required helmets, and we had the right to confiscate the scooter, but we're still seeing kids all over the place,
Right.
They're going down sidewalks. You know what happens too? It's small kids, the sidewalks in town, when they dip down for the roadway, by law, you have to have that, stuff with the bumps on it for people that are visually impaired. And they hit that and don't realize how violent of an interaction it is, and they're flying off these things. We're worried about that as well. So, trying to keep it together. It's not just the scooters. There's also now electric bikes everywhere, and there's electric three-wheel vehicles now. If whatever you can think of, they make, and they're all, they're all very expensive also. So, taking a few of them here and there sends a message out to all the kids that you got to do right by your helmet. You got to help yourself out. But we definitely have to look at that Mill Road spot and see what we can't do over there.
All right. And I don't know, because it's the summertime, it's not so bad. And a group of young girls, especially, more than boys, I mean, there's hundreds of them out on the weekend. They could be from 13 to 15 or 12, whatever. Something should be done. I think years ago, I'm from this town 40 years, where they can go or do something. And I believe we had something years ago. I might be dreaming, but I remember, I don't know if it was Tucko or where they can go in there.
Teen scene. We still have teen scene.
Right.
Most of the time, it's the younger kids, 11, 12, 13. It's the 14, 15, 16 that, we have trouble
I
trying
know
to
that.
get
Once you
involved.
get a license, a junior license, whatever
Yeah, they
license,
wanna be
it's
in the
sold,
cars.
but they're very young, and they have nothing to do, and they're just like, it's not, I don't know, it's some place for them to go or do something for, till 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever, to be off of the street, And maybe in the winter, it's not as bad, but it seems there's a lot of them up at the Stop and Shop, go through to Walgreens, CVS, they're all over the place.
And the chief will tell you, too, that what happens a lot of times is parents will go down the hutch from Harrison or Rye, drop their kids off, because they know it's safe here, a lot of things that the kids do, and then they pick them up at 10 o'clock. Meanwhile, they don't live here, and they're roaming around, and generally speaking, there's always an issue, whether at the high school or at, like you said, in a Huntley area or in the town center. But, luckily, it's a good place to be. Unluckily, people want to come here and have their kids hang out here. So we have a little bit of a drop-off of that recently, but, it's not easy.
I know, you did a great job with the seniors, with Lake Isle and the early bird swim and all that stuff. And I just see these young people, and I don't know if the parents are aware, or it's something's going to happen, or I don't know. It's not right. Like for them not to have a place to go or do something, So.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Right.
Appreciate it.
And then this gas line, I've been monitoring that company. I don't know who they are or whatever. It's a small group, it seems like, that are actually working, in my opinion. I've been around a lot of big jobs like this, and it's taking a long time. They can't even put down the plates. I'm down in Lincoln Place. I talk to a lot of people. And I don't know, they stopped now, they're gonna come back or something, I was told. They finished up now right in front here. And this is gonna go on, I don't know how long, but is there a time frame for these people to finish this job? Or-
Generally, no, because they're under a federal mandate to do all this connecting work within a certain period of time, and they're also a quasi-governmental agency, so we kind of have limited control over them. What we can control is, the method by which they put in catecrete or put the plates down, but the timing of the jobs, it's very difficult to control that. I mean, they pay building permit fees. They're reduced now, but they pay building permit fees and road opening fees. But generally speaking, we don't have any control over their clock.
Right.
And, the problem too is that they do a job, they get messed up, the job has to get done all over again. Like there are certain places in town, the road's been paved 3 times, and they can't get the lines in correctly. And what's happening is because the road elevation has gone up higher, people are getting water in their basements now. Because what normally when the pitch was, one way, now the pitch is the other way. So it's frustrating. And Mr. Latella has his hands full dealing with them all day long. But again, we do the best we can, but they're like separate agencies. Like, we can't tell Viola, you can't work here. You can't, we're limited in that.
Right. And then I noticed too, being out there, there's a lot of heavy duty, like, is there, that's a Mill Road, a state road? Or
County owns the
County road. It's gotta be, they're way over the limit of the weights, whatever they're carrying to be coming down at high speeds or whatever. I mean, if you just go down where Mason's is or something, and you see, I don't know how nothing has happened, from huge dumpster vehicles and a lot of heavy duty. I know on 22, that's a
State road, yeah.
But
we're able to handle it.
Mill Road from that strip, they come down very fast, and they got to be way over the limit of capacity or the weight they're carrying. And somebody could check on them, that would alleviate something seriously happening.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just give us your name and address, please. Thank you.
Luis Javier Fortuner. Good evening, Town Supervisor, Council members. I know it's late. I'll be brief. I guess you didn't have any contentious items on the agenda. This place is empty, so.
Yeah, thank God.
Again, I'll be brief. I just want to raise a concern that I have as a parent, as a neighbor, as a resident, and it's the intersection of Scarsdale Avenue and Harney Road. I'm in the Green Knolls neighborhood, and our closest park to take the kids to the ballpark or, the playground is 2 blocks away. People are driving because the intersection is dangerous. Not a week goes by, and I'm sure the EPD can attest to this because they get all the reports. Not a week goes by when there's not an incident. I mean, the other day via email, I'm in a distribution list for my neighborhood, and it just kept coming. A mom got almost hit with a stroller, and a lady got hit with her grandson. So it's like every week something's going on. So how long it will take before a fatality or a critical injury takes place? So I don't know if this issue is on your radar, but I want to make sure it is because it needs to be fixed. It's a poorly designed intersection. It's not your fault or the town. It's an old design. Who knows, probably from the 60s. But you wouldn't design an intersection like that today with today's standards. There's a lack of line of sight in some of the corners. Some of the push buttons for the pedestrian walkway just don't work. The timing is awful. So anyway, again, I want to be brief. I want to make sure you're aware. It's a dangerous intersection. It's the only pathway. It's the only way to get to the Garth Park, the park on Garth, and from the Green Knolls and that area on Scarsdale Avenue. So it makes no sense that people are driving 2 blocks because they're afraid of walking the intersection.
Yeah, it's a tough spot there, but contrary to what you think, it was actually done within the last 5 or so years.
Really?
Yeah, what happened was The county owns that road. And,
I'm sorry to interrupt, the Scarsdale piece or the Harney?
oh, no, the Harney Road.
The Harney Road.
Harney
okay.
Road is, where Harney Road goes up the hill, where it gets to the top of the hill over the tracks, right? Then you have, Scarsdale and Tudor, or Downer. And then you have, the other side is Scarsdale Ave, right by the apartment building. I'm talking about the south side. They put in, like new striping and arrows to tell people earlier, if you want to make a left to go north on Scarsdale Avenue, right, you had to be in the left lane, right? So while they were doing all of that, and they were doing the, the dividers over again, we said to them, and we dealt with the county transportation, Department of Transportation, why don't we try to make a right-hand turn lane on Harney onto Scarsdale Ave, so that it would be a little bit safer. Because, people come in and they go shing right up the hill. They just take off. So we wanted to try to slow it down a little bit, and we wanted to tighten up the intersection, okay? The problem was, at least what we were advised, and Mr. Latella was there, Mr. DeLeo at the time was there, was that they were concerned about buses being able to negotiate because there's a bus that services the neighborhood for the Scarsdale train station, and also the school buses. And then the other issue was, when you came out, they wanted to make sure there was a sufficient width. It was all dimensioned by the DOT for the county. And, we tried to weasel a couple things in there, and we got new striping and whatnot, but I will reach out to the county Department of Transportation and see if they can't re-examine that, or maybe sign it up better. Put some signs, more striping, something that pops, something that people can see, because you have a lot of people going in that neighborhood down to Garth Road. It's a beautiful park.
Yeah, it's a beautiful park. On the corner on the north side of the bridge, as you stand, if you're coming from the park on the north side, that corner, you have no line of sight to the
To get across the street.
Yeah, you don't see anything, and it's the curve doesn't go out by much, so you can have cars or anyone flying to make a right turn, and you're in the middle of the crosswalk, and then you find yourself.
You mean
with the car
coming
in
off
front of you.
Scarsdale Ave, making a right-hand turn to go
Harney,
down the
yes,
hill?
Yes,
Yeah, I got you.
it is an awful spot, and I didn't know it was redesigned 5 years ago. So
Yeah, maybe, it might have been more than that, actually, maybe 7. I look back in time, I'm confused by when things happen, but I'll reach out to the DOT and see if we can't get some movement there, because that's something we've been talking about for a while. We put plants there and all, we try to decorate a little bit, try to make
it's
it a little...
beautiful, by the way. When you put the plants, it's nice.
We do that to try to slow the traffic down, because it's a tough spot there.
It's a
and you
tough
have, people, once they come down the hill, from Brook, where the Brook turns into Harney, right over there by 700 Scarsdale Ave, they get a head of steam coming down the hill, and they roll right into that light, and that's a continuing problem for us.
It's a tough spot, yeah. It'd be nice to have wider sidewalks, but that you need to redo the bridge probably.
Well, the other thing we had looked at was we wanted to put an island. Like, when you come in the opposite side of Greenoles on Stratford off of Maple, there's that triangular island with the Christmas tree in the middle of it.
Yes.
So you want to do the same thing on the other end, like to have symmetry. But then when we figured out the dimensions and all, with the turning radius for the bus, with the people coming down the hill with the snow, 'cause that's all cement there. It's not really blacktop. We decided that it's just not going to work there. But it would have been a nice thing to A, decorate, and B, slow people down a little bit. But just the angles and the distances, it just couldn't fit.
The key is, you hit the nail on the head. The key is slowing people down, and that's how do you accomplish that. When you have a grandma pushing a stroller, which I think was the last incident, it's difficult. They don't have, it's just tough.
Well, we'll reach out to DOT and get back to Greenoles, Greenvale, and they can send a message out and stuff.
I believe there's a Transportation Advisory Committee meeting coming up. I think it will
It's
be
on the
discussed.
agenda, I
Okay,
think.
that's not a bad idea. Could farm it to them, too.
Yeah,
Get 2 bites at the apple.
But I want to at least make sure you are aware of the situation, so
Okay.
I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, Ms. Campia. All right. What I'd like to do now at this point to adjourn our meeting is I'd like to just adjourn in a moment of silence for Peter Nerzia, who was a member of our zoning board. He was an attorney in town, Wonderful guy, probably the nicest guy you could ever want to meet. And unfortunately, he died recently from, we think possibly a blood clot or something. But anyway, he was beloved by many. He was a good man, and he served on the town zoning board for many, many years. He was always prepared, always motivated, always did a great job. So if you'd all join us in a moment of silence for him, we'll close out our meeting with that. Thank you very much, all. We're adjourned.